The Ballsville game presents the Mini Leagues. $4 rookie inclusive, draft it and forget it Bestball tournament leagues. A low buy-in with the chance at a huge win. Leagues launching now, don't miss out. Your first stop for way too early Bestball fantasy football. Go to theballsvillegame.com and sign up today.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a bonus episode of the Ballsville podcast. Just here today to go a fast draft with you gentlemen and ladies, if you're listening. We're here doing a fast draft in one of our mini leagues for you guys. Just wanted to jump on here real quick, like nice little bonus episode. Watch us do a fast draft. So I am currently on the clock. We know I'm going to go ahead and take my boy Josh Allen so that I can go ahead and continue with my intro. So basically what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, this is one of our mini leagues. This is a best ball league. It's one of our formats that is our $4 buy-in, and last year's champion took home, I believe it was close to $600, our overall money winner, and then our actual champion took home close to 300 and change, I believe. So it was definitely a good year for those two gentlemen, and this is the beginning of the 2025 season and the kickoff for Ballsville 2025. Really exciting, guys. So what we're doing here is we're drafting our roster. We have a super flex roster. We have a starting quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 receivers, 3 flex, tight end, and a super flex. So that is your starting lineups, and we have a total of 26 rounds on these drafts. So as you can see, we got some of our regulars and some new people in here. Got myself, DLC, Freeway, File 1EE, Grim Darkness, who was on an episode with us recently, great guy. Alex, and also congratulations, Grim Darkness, on your family and expanding by 1 just the other day. Really awesome for you, man. I'm happy to hear that you had a nice, healthy baby girl. Then we got our big man, our El Presidente, Westlex, Alex, along with Brady D, Eagle Hesh, who is, I believe, a new player that I have not played with, so welcome, Eagle. It looks like it's supposed to be Goku, but it's like with a 6. So 6 Goku. So also a new name. So welcome to the league. Birdie87, another name I don't recognize. Uncle Chris, YFB X David, all names I do not recognize, and I am really excited that you guys are here because that means the Ballsville is growing, just like we were hoping. The more you guys play, the more feedback we can get, the better we can do this for you. So really glad to have you guys here. So let's kind of look at what we're looking at so far. So these drafts have been going a little different than I had originally anticipated. I'm looking at, the first 4 picks off the board: Daniels, Hurts, Allen, Jackson. Okay, so 4 quarterbacks, expect that kind of, when you're talking about a super flex, quarterbacks are always kind of the hot commodity, especially the top dogs. So for the quarterbacks to go off the board like they did, I didn't surprise me. What does surprise me is not only the order, but the actual quarterbacks that went, being that Hurts is in that group. So for me, I don't have Hurts up there that far as that in that core top tier. I think I've got 3, in that top tier, which are the Allen, Daniels, and Jackson that are on the board currently. And then I'd put Burrow above Hurts personally myself. So Burrow would be my 4th ranked quarterback at this point. So, I'm a little surprised that Hurts got taken ahead of them. It says it's an auto pick, but it had to have been a Q set auto pick, so he definitely wanted to get Hurts. So more power to him if that's his boy. Hurts last season was looking like a stud. So not to say that it's going to be a bad pick. I just am surprised by it. Beyond that, you've got Jamar Chase, always seems to be the first position player to go off the board in drafts, which makes sense to me. I definitely am in that boat also. If I'm in a non-superflex league, then Jamar Chase is my 1-1. So he followed up by Alex taking the first running back on the board, which it doesn't surprise me that a running back went at the sixth spot. But what does surprise me is the running back that went at the sixth spot. You're looking at Bijan and going over Saquon and Gibbs, who were taken at picks 8 and 9 respectively, right after Justin Jefferson, who sandwiched between the three. So that is a run right there. The same, the three backs I believe are in the same tier. Just the order that they were taken was surprising for me. Of course, the Eagles man is going to take his boy Barkley on the heels of that 2,000-yard season. Can't say I blame you for that one, buddy. That's definitely something I would have done too. And then you got Jameer Gibbs going at the 9, like we mentioned, followed up by his teammate Amon-Ra St. Brown in the 110. And then there's my boy Burrow all the way down at 111. And Uncle Chris, I have to say, just going across the board, as I'm reading through these, I feel like you probably got the steal of the round, in my opinion, with that 111 being Burrow. Like I said earlier, I feel like he's my fourth quarterback. So for him to be there for you at the 111, I like that in the super flex. I think David just snagged a good 1-2 combo with CD Lamb and Patrick Mahomes. Again, Mahomes, another player that I don't anticipate him to be where he seems to be drafted at. I do think he's going to have another year where he's back up there in the top. Let's say 8 or so fantasy quarterbacks this year. So I definitely like both those picks. CD dropping to 112 is a steal too. Almost beats the Burrow steal in my opinion. It's kind of right on the heels of the steal that Burrow is. So for me, I think it's a great move there. They follow that up with the Puka Nakua take. I do like Puka. Some people have him as their second receiver overall, right behind Chase. So for him to fall all the way down to you at 2-2, you're on the hot streak already, starting out with the potential steal of the round right out the gate. So we'll see how this plays out. I like the Neighbors pick. I like the Thomas pick. Followed up the Puka pick there. It's kind of what you're seeing a lot of times when you get through these top 12 guys or so, and into the top 24 guys. You're seeing a lot of the same people. I think when you get down to maybe 22, 23, 24, you might see some names jump up there that you're not used to. But for the most part, the first round and a half, it's kind of standard, for the players that are coming off the board. Just the orders are usually a little different from time to time. But I definitely feel like the board is falling well for myself sitting here in a couple of picks. So I'm definitely looking at some players out here that I really like that are still on the board. So but I feel like there's one specific player that I just feel like I have no choice but to go after right now in this situation, because to me, the fact that this player is still on the board is shocking. If he makes it to me, and Stiley doesn't take him, then I think I'm going to have to go with it. Otherwise, I have my backup player ready to roll too, just in case. So on these 1 minute drafts, guys, this is a really fast draft, so you don't have a lot of time to sit here and analyze your pick and go back and forth and Google players and where they're at from injuries or things like that, and get it like updated information on them, because this time of year, none of us are really getting a lot of really super recent information. All these guys are playing golf or over in Europe somewhere with their kids. Nobody's really out there. Oh, see, look at that. Lad went, which I do like Lad, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with a different guy that I really do like. Like I said, I cannot believe that he's still here, and that's AJ Brown. To me, the fact that he was still on the board at this point in the draft was pretty shocking, and I felt like I had no choice but to snag him. It actually isn't the player I anticipated to get. Really, really didn't feel like he'd even be there, to be honest with you guys. So that's pretty shocking to me. So, what's up, gentlemen? I'm just now clicking over to the comment section because I'm too stupid to realize I was sitting in the media assets board that does not show me your comments. So I am catching up. So there we are. We got what's up, Sam. Hi, good to see you, my friend. I know I said congratulations earlier, but I'll say it again. Congratulations. So yeah, 107 for Burrow, for Brady. Yep, I like that definitely. That's a good steal right there. And then the Saquon at 206 is even bigger. So that's definitely a solid play right there for you. Look at Sam talking about Bijan as his number one. See, and like they're talking to AJ, yep, and and I don't mind your Lad McConkey pick over AJ, to be honest with you. I really don't hate that move at all. So I'm back on the clock, guys. So I think at this point in time, I'm feeling like I need to go ahead and take my second quarterback that I do like a lot. I can't believe he's still here, so I'm gonna go ahead and take CJ Stroud. with my second or my third pick here, guys. And I do appreciate you all taking the time to let me make this pick while I'm talking to you guys, since I'm kind of doing double duty here. You guys are being very gracious by allowing me the time I need to make that pick. I do want to go back through that second round. One of the things that stands out to me the most is the fact that we only had two running backs that came off the board by that point in the time. So what we're kind of seeing, and this has been consistent, guys, is we're seeing a definite drop from the three running back top tier to that tier two, as far as like how far down the board the next running back will go. Sometimes I mean, I've been seeing some of them drop all the way down into the 2-8, 2-9, 2-10 range before you see another back off the board. So those three are definitely in a tier all on their own, and it seems like it's a pretty decent sized gap compared to what we're looking at ADP wise. So that being said, we talked about every pick up to Brian Thomas. Then you have Derrick Henry coming off the board. I do love the Nico Collins pick at 2-6. Also, Brady's got a nice stack of receivers starting out. Bo Nix coming off the board at the 2-7 spot. A lot of people are really, really high on Bo Nix. I'm personally not one of them. I think Alex kind of, pooped the bed a little bit by taking that guy over CJ Stroud at that point. But hey, that's just where I stand right now. I could be having a lot of egg on my face when it comes time for the season. So we'll see how that works out for him. I definitely do like the fact that he went quarterback there, because I do think it's a necessary move for him at that point in the draft, with passing up on the first round. And then you got Baker right behind him. So two controversial quarterbacks going ahead of guys like CJ and a couple others that are on the board I don't want to name until they get drafted. So it's definitely one of those things, guys. I mean, this is really a game where you're looking at these quarterbacks. Carousel is kind of it's a tricky game that you guys are playing over here, especially the four of you in the same block right there that don't have one. Who's going to be the first to bite at that apple? I can't wait to see that play out. That's going to be fun. So run through these picks so we get caught up here. We're at Josh Jacobs. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me finish up with the second round because we stopped at the Baker Mayfield. We can't stop with Lad McConkey, right? We got to talk about Lad McConkey coming out like a stud in year one. Then you got AJ Brown, like we talked about, going to myself. Drake London was right behind him, who I definitely like a lot as well. And then Gentry going at the bottom of the round. I love that pick. I think it's a steal. I really do. I took him at 3-1 in one of my drafts just like this, so I really do like that move there. Starting the third round, which just ended, we had Josh Jacobs and Christian McCaffrey going off the board right in front of my CJ Stroud pick that we discussed. Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving followed that up. So four running backs sandwiching my quarterback in the middle. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba, followed up by Devon Echan, and then T. Higgins, Brock Bowers, Breece Hall, Tyreek Hill, and Justin Herbert. So Herbert was my other quarterback. If I had not had the opportunity to take Stroud, I would have taken Herbert. So I love that pick. That, again, dropped all the way to the bottom of the round. I think it's a really, really good move right there for you. And then you look at the difference with the back versus receiver ratio from rounds 2 to 3. You're looking at a tier that's probably 7 backs deep there, it looks like. So 8 backs deep. So when you look at this tier right here, which I do consider this to be all kind of one tier, with the exception of potentially like Breece Hall. I might drop Breece Hall down to the next tier below this tier, but I could definitely have all 7 of those guys along with a few others in that second tier of running back. So it's really the deal with the way the board falls, right? If you don't get one of those top 3, how early are you really going to snag one of these other guys? With the exception of Gentry, who's kind of in that unknown territory, could be a super stud, we just don't know yet type player. Everybody else, you kind of have a good feeling on who they are and what they're going to bring to the table. And it just depends on how early you want to take them and whether you want to make sure you get one of them or 2 of them or any of them. Is it really that important to you, depending on how you draft? So, a guy like Seabaum, who just loves to sit there and let those guys just, drop all the way down to 7th, 8th, 9th round, and then he'll go and try to play the hero RB game. So, meanwhile, the guy will have like 9 receivers on his team. So it just depends on how you decide to make the moves, I guess, right? But I personally do want to make sure I snag at least 1, if not 2 of those guys in those tiers. So the fact that, we're sitting here where we're at right now, it does have me a little puckered, hoping that I can get to the guys that I want. So we'll see how it plays out. Hopefully I'm not talking to anybody who's listening that's going to take my player just because I said that. Talking to you, Sam. But I don't think you will, because I definitely think you got your eye on a different ball right now. But there was some good picks so far in this round already, guys, too. We've got, I think, Murray and Goff, going right there. That We talked about that block of players. Looks like Goff was the first one, and Eagle was the first one to take the bite out of the apple. So, you can look at that, in two ways. You'd say, hey, you got the guy you wanted before the others, or you could say he could have waited one more round and still gotten a guy just as valuable. Just depends on how you want to look at it. You never can tell because he's got a lot of guys behind him that are going to be quarterback happy. There's only a couple of us. Like right now, Grim just took his second quarterback. Him and myself are the only ones on that side of the board that don't have a second quarterback. So he could have very easily anticipated somebody snagging quarterbacks like crazy on the way back around and him being stuck with nothing if he didn't go Goff there. So I think I'm always in the boat of if you're concerned that you're not going to get a guy at a level that you want, don't play the game. Just take the guy when you want to take him and be happy with it. Because I've done it so many times to myself where I try to be too cute with it and just like, oh, I can get that guy on the turn, man. I could get him around the turn. Especially if I'm sitting like where I'm at now currently in this draft and the third spot right here. Oh, I can wait for this guy to come around. And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and take my boy right now and get James Cook on my team. And that's exactly what I would tell you guys to do too. There's a chance I could have waited. Look at the board. They've got two backs in one team. The other guy's got one back already. Neither of them have a second quarterback. Who's to say they were even going to target a running back in this situation? I don't care. I want to make sure that I get Cook and not one of those other four players, or he's one of those other four players, and then I miss out on him. I could get a guy like secondary back that's right there behind Cook. In my opinion, Cook's above anybody else on the board right now. So I'm going to take him and get him while I can. So, and that will finish out our round. And they both did go quarterback to start out that second round. So, or that fourth round. So, it's exactly what we just talked about, guys. They're going into that. And we're sitting here. This is the pick I would have been concerned about being Cook, is this one right here. So if I'm not sure if Freeway is listening, but if you are, feel free to jump in here to the chat and let me know if you would have taken Cook had I left him for you. Or you too, GLC, if you think Cook would have been one of your two picks. There's another guy right here that I'm really liking that I'm going to take right now because he's a guy that I feel like falls a lot. And this is mainly because of the way that this board has him ranked. And it's only because of his injury. It's Rashee Rice. The fact that he's still sitting there for me at this point in the game, I'm going to take him. So I think if the board wasn't looking crazy like it is with ADP right now, he would have been off, closer to the end of the second, early third, no later than, in my opinion. So if you guys have a difference, of opinion on that one, I would love to hear it in the comment section from you. But that's where I stand right now. Is I definitely think Rashee Rice would have been gone long before this pick had he not been ranked so dang low according to the stupid sleeper ADP. So yeah, we got we'll do a quick run back on that fourth round. So we've got Terry McLaurin, Kyler Murray, Garrett Wilson, Kyron Williams, Jared Goff, Trey McBride, DJ Moore, Caleb Williams, Dak Prescott, Jared Cook, Brock Purdy, and Drake May. So we have nice 6 quarterbacks coming off the board out of the 12 picks. So there's our quarterback run that we talked about. We're going into the fourth round now, or fifth round, I'm sorry, and it's coming back around, and we've already got a couple more quarterbacks. So this is where you anticipate that run to happen. If you've been waiting, I suggest now you don't wait too much longer because it's gonna hit hard, and you're gonna be upset about it because I've done it already one draft. You feel like you can wait, then you wait too long, and next thing you know, the best bet is Stafford. I can wait on Stafford, and then he goes before it comes back to you again, and now you're stuck with nobody. So definitely make sure you get yourself at least a decent quarterback to solidify your QB1 role at minimum. Oh man, so this has been a lot of fun, guys. I mean, geez, this draft is really moving along. You guys are doing a great job picking too. There's really not been any like crazy out of like line, just out of the blue, I guess I should say, picks. Everybody's been pretty on the level with their solid picks at this point. So good for you guys. My hat off to you, gentlemen. You're doing a great job here as a crew in general. We'll start with reading these through because we got a few picks left, but they'll get done before I get back through them. So starts off the round with 4 receivers right off the gate. You got Marvin Harrison Jr., who I also think is a steal at this point. Xavier Worthy, Rashee Rice, who I talked about already, and the new guy, T. McMillan. I cannot say his first name off the top of my head right now, so sorry, guys. I'm just going to go with the T. But You got Ken Walker following that, the four receivers. So we had a running back, and then we had a little couple quarterback sandwich right there with Love and Lawrence, and then follow that up with Chase Brown, which I think Chase Brown, that's an early pick for Brown, but I don't hate it because I do think Brown is a solid player who's going to have a really, really good role with them. So following Chase Brown, you have Mike Evans, followed by Michael Penix, another solid pick I liked a lot. Chris Olave and Evan Kamara, two super crazy unknown scenarios going on there with one being old and one being concussed. We'll see how it plays out, but there's definitely potential for both those players to outperform their draft stock for sure. So as a pretty solid round, I think across the board, I would say if I had to call out one steal that I really like the most right now, other than trying to toot my own horn, which I'm not going to do, I would have to go with Marvin Harrison. I feel like that's a really good pick at this point in the draft, especially being that he solidified his quarterbacks and his running backs, and that's his wide receiver one, falling all the way to 5-1 like that is, I think, a steal. So great job there with that setup so far. For going into this round, I think after the end of this round, maybe I'll check through and I'll just kind of give you guys my early winner so far in this draft, at least who I think is going to be, considered my early winner for this draft up to this point anyway. So I'm going to kind of glance through these guys while we're talking here to see what I can find. So yeah, we're looking at this round's moving along pretty well. You got me here coming up on the board too. So I feel like there's definitely something that I can do here. If opportunity falls my way, then I will be happy to make the right move. But that's all going to depend on what you guys let me do. So I'm just going to wait here with my fingers crossed and hope that something good comes my way. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and go back through the first picks while we're waiting Stiley out. We got Mixon coming in at the first pick of this round. Oh, so he takes Godwin, which I do think is a nice pick right there. I probably would have taken somebody else ahead of him at this point, but I do like that pick. It's not bad at all. I am just looking to verify 100% this guy is still out here. And here he is. So I'm going to go ahead and take a stack here and get my guy Khalil Shakir. So that is going to be very nice for me, I believe, to get myself a nice little stack like that. And, we all know how good stacks can be in Bestball, right? So it's pretty fucking awesome. So, and basically, we'll run back through here real quick here. Joe Mixon was our first pick. George Kittle was our second pick. J.J. McCarthy was our third pick. Jameson Williams, who was a pick I would have taken had he been here, but he was also taken there ahead of me. Chuba Hubbard, Devontae Smith, Tua Tagovailoa, Sam Laporta, Chris Godwin, Khalil Shakir, Brandon Ayuk, and we are sitting waiting for our last and final pick of this round. So that being said, let's look through here. Let's look at some of the different builds real quick. We've got a guy who's definitely going running back heavy. He wants to make sure he solidifies that position early and often. So he's got himself 4 backs, 1 receiver, 1 quarterback so far. I do like his players. He did definitely a good job picking the right players, in my opinion, at the times that he was there, if he's going to go with those position orders. I do like some of these other teams a lot. There's some of them that scare me a little bit with not having any running back at this point in the game, because you're looking at really like lighter board as far as running backs are concerned, myself included. I'm a little concerned about my running back position also, but this has definitely been a good draft so far for a couple of teams. I'm gonna have to lean towards my boy GLC. I think off first glance is up there with a good draft. And I'm gonna go with my boys on bookends, man. GLC 76 and YFB X David, man. You two are killing it right now. And from what I'm seeing, I definitely like the teams you guys have put together. Ooh, got a little bit of a snipe action there going on that one, guys. I would have liked to have him on my team. I think he's going to be a really solid player this season. But there is another player too that I could consider here potentially. So think what I am going to do is go with for the rookie and take Tredavion Henderson, or Travion, however you say it, Travion Henderson, and see how that goes. Because I figure why not? Let's have some fun with some rookies. At this point, I haven't drafted a lot of them because I'm a unfortunately, not very savvy when it comes to college football. I shouldn't say unfortunately. I just don't like college football. It's not an unfortunate thing. It's just not as entertaining for me. So I don't know a lot about college football players yet, and I'm basically just kind of, you know, shooting into the wind and hoping that I hit something. So we'll find out whether or not it was the right pick, I guess, as time goes on. But $4 league, these are the times to try these things. So yeah, definitely. So far, I'm happy with the team, the way it's kind of coming together. I like that I got a couple of good stack options because Cook does catch the ball quite a bit. So with the three of them, him, Shakir, and Allen, and me being a Bills fan and knowing how good that offense is, I think those three players right there could really like carry a good amount of weeks this year. So I'm pretty happy with how my team is turning out so far. But I do have a lot. I'd say not a lot, but a good amount of teams in this draft that I'm kind of afraid of. So I feel like this is going to be one of those leagues that the points are going to be spread out. It'll probably be a closer league based on the way everybody's drafting than some of these leagues turn out to be, just because nobody's been able to really like super stack their squad, based on some rookie drafters that might not understand exactly what they're doing yet. So this has been pretty solid, which means every one of you guys that's in here knows what they're doing. So it's fun when you get in drafts like this, but it's also frustrating sometimes because you also like to be the ones where you can kick butt and just take as many good players as you want, and people just let them fall right in your lap all the time. Makes it a little bit easier to just kind of, oh, yep, oh, yep, oh, yep. Oh, I gotta love it, right? So we've got one guy with three quarterbacks already, which is our superhero, Presidente Alex Westlex, with his Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa, and Bo Nix. So not only does he have three, ladies and gentlemen, but he has three mediocre ones. I'm just kidding, Alex. I gotta tease you a little bit. But I like his wide receivers. I'll put it that way. I definitely do like the fact that you were able to get Waddle and Judy at that point in the game. I think that's a good solid pickup for you. We got a couple of rookies coming off the board again. We got Judkins and Egbuka coming off the board. DK Metcalf came off the board, first pick of this round. So there was, some pretty solid players left when you got down to the eighth round, and then you look at here, you got Matthew Stafford, Anthony Richardson coming off the board. So those right there, like that's what we were just talking about with the quarterback situation being what it is. Now you're falling into a position where there's not a lot of great guys left out there for you to really go after at this point in time. So that being said, somebody like myself who's in the position that they're in is going to go ahead and go after somebody that I think can be a solid third quarterback for me at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and snag myself Bryce Young and make sure that I get at least a decent third quarterback, because I really don't see very many more quarterbacks left, with the exception of a couple of them that are going to be guaranteed to start. And, one of them, Geno Smith, in my opinion, is not a guaranteed to start player. I do have a, feeling that there's a chance that Sam Howell comes in there and outperforms him. I just don't think Geno is that great of a quarterback. I think he regressed a little bit last year, and he's older, and I just don't think he's quite, as good as he kind of has looked over the last few years. I think he's been maximized. He's hit his ceiling, and I don't think he's going any farther up. And I do think that Sam Howell, for all of his mistakes, I think he's got a bit more moxie to him, and I do think he's going to play. He's going to end up taking that role, in my opinion. So, look at that. We got a first rookie quarterback going off the board in Cam Ward. I do like that pick at that point in the draft, especially talking like we were just talking about how there's not very many of these running backs left at this point. So I looking for, let's see here. There's a couple places I could go with this pick, but I think what I want to do is I really want to go ahead and round out my starting lineup and take what I think is potentially the best one left on the board, and maybe even the number one at this position, and go ahead and snag Scott's favorite player, TJ Hawkinson. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. TJ Hawkinson. You know you love it, Scott. I can hear you all the way from here, just yelling and screaming about how great that pick is. If you guys have listened to our podcast, you know how much Scott loves TJ Hawkinson and how his belly was really full with the pub sub that he had to eat. Or, well, not, I shouldn't say His belly was really empty because Ken's belly was really full from the pub sub that Scott had to buy for him from TJ Hawkinson starting 8 games this year. So again, Scott is a huge fan of TJ Hawkinson. Oh, look at we got another rookie running back off the board. Or I mean receiver, I'm sorry. So we've had some pretty solid picks so far, guys. There's Cam Scattaboo. There he goes off the board, the AZ State boy. That's one of the few people I know about in the playoffs because or in the college football because of the college football playoff game. And the dude reminds me a lot of a kid I played football with when I was in school. And they like just literally like everything about him, like the build, like the way he acts, like his attitude, his personality, all of that was like literally like this kid I went to high school with, like to a T. So it was really funny watching that game and watching him be that guy and just getting as hyped as he was. It brought back memories of my old buddy Art. But anyways, neither here nor there, right? You guys don't care about that. You want to hear about the draft, baby. We got Zach Charbonnet and Kyle Pitts coming off the board. Charbonnet is a guy. So I had this discussion earlier that a lot of people are really high on him. I am personally not one of them. I think he's okay. I think he's good. I don't think he's great. I think he's always going to be like a serviceable second back for an offense, but I don't ever anticipate him being the guy who can take on the full workload on a regular basis and be good, consistently. I think he'll just be one of those every now and then he'll have a good game, but he'll never be consistently great if he ends up being a full-time starter. I think that Walker is going to be the main man in that offense, and I think Sharps is just going to be a spellback. I don't think it's going to be any kind of a timeshare for fantasy purposes. So that's just my personal opinion. I didn't see enough out of him at this point. He could change my mind, but right now I'm just not confident that it's going to come back with anything more than just a mediocre role in that offense, and it's going to be mostly Walker who's taking that ball and running with it. I mean, the man did a front flip off his head, for God's sakes. He's gonna get the ball. And the offensive coordinator was out there hyping him up like crazy the other day. So we will see how it turns out. I definitely do think that he's gonna keep a huge portion of that offensive role, though. What do we got, Brady? You like Sharp? Yeah. See, they keep showing they're playing Walker, though. Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, that's what I'm saying as about that interview. I believe I want to say it's the OC over there was talking all this hype about Walker and how great he is and the type of offense that they want to run and how he's perfect for this and that. So to me, I just don't see any way that he's going to take a large enough role to make it worth picking him in a best ball at 9-9, unless you're counting on injury, which I can also agree that Walker will potentially get hurt because he already has a history of some injury problems. So we were just talking about this. I think it was me and you, Sam, if I'm not mistaken, talking about that, or one of the guys in our dynasty leagues that we're currently drafting in, and me were chatting about that and what Walker and his potential injury history might bring to the table as far as how valuable Sharp can be. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting season to see how it plays out. I think injury aside, as long as everybody stays healthy, I do think that Sharp's not going to be anybody that's going to be able to provide you with too much of a boost in fantasy at this point. I think I would have personally waited. Like the guy that you took in the next round, Brian Robinson at 10, I think should have gone at the 9th pick for you. I like that pick a lot better. I think Brian Robinson is a really solid pickup for you. And had he been on the board for me, there's a good chance I might have taken him off the board myself. So I do like that pick for you. It's a solid pick. I'm going to go ahead and take a guy, DeAndre Swift here, just because I think they're going to utilize him in that offense, a good amount, and I want to make sure that I get a piece of Ben Johnson's offense. Look at the type of job that David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. I know that they're totally different running backs than DeAndre Swift, but if he can even get some of the production out of Swift like he did out of those two backs, then Swift's going to be a serviceable back to get in the 10th round, 100%. So I'm pretty happy with the fact that he's there for me. I do like the Tyrone Tracy pick right behind him too. I think that's a really solid pickup. That would have been somebody I'd have considered also myself there. So I do like that pickup for you too. Just the fact that the offensive scenario, I'm just not 100% sure what they're going to do there, quarterback, and I don't trust it as much as what I think Ben Johnson's going to do with Caleb Williams. So we'll see how it all turns out. Again, like I said earlier, it's going to be one of those things we just got to keep an eye on. Let's see here. So this is a tricky spot right here. There's a certain player that has always been on the board at this point in the draft, and it's been very, very hard for me not to just go ahead and take him at this point. And I feel like I'm just gonna have to go ahead and do it again, and it's gonna be Hollywood Brown is coming off the board to me on this pick, and it's because I do believe that he will re-sign with the Chiefs, and I do believe they're going to open that offense back up again this year with Rasheed Rice and him coming back. So between having him and Rice, and like I talked about earlier, with that way the offenses, I want to have many pieces of these high-powered offenses as possible. So I'm okay with snagging and best balls, a couple of receivers on the same team and things like that. So I'm really happy to have him there at this point in the draft. I think that it looks like we got a nice run of receiver going. So I'm glad that I was able to get in the early portions of that receiver run. Sometimes the board falls where you're in the right spot at the right time, and that just feels like that was one of those moments. Yeah, Debo, I like that you asked that, Brady, because I was literally thinking the same thing with Debo. I was thinking about taking him at that point. The thing that's concerning with Debo right now is I just don't know what offense he's going to be on, and if he's not on Shanahan offense, is he utilized to the level that he was utilized before? Is he going to be able to play up to that par? And he was already kind of having a rougher time. So at this point, like I definitely, I was scared enough to take Brown over him. So he was in the running though, so I definitely don't hate your pick at all at that point. You're talking about your what is he, your seventh receiver? One, two, three, four, five, your sixth receiver. So at that point, as your sixth receiver, yeah, I don't hate that pick at all. I think that's a great move for you. So that's definitely give you an idea there too. Though, like what we just talked about, I only had four receivers. I wouldn't be comfortable in as much as him as my fourth receiver, but as my sixth receiver, again, totally fine with that. So I definitely think your timing of the pick was perfect, in my opinion, anyways. Which we all know how much that's worth, right? Just ask Scott; he'll tell you. Oh, look, Aaron finally goes off the board. Ayahuasca Aaron, there he goes, man. I hope he got done with his latest drug deal so that he could be there in time for training camp. Oh man, poor ayahuasca Aaron. Who knows where he's gonna end up, huh? Oh, what's up, Dave? All right, so this is you, huh? YBF David. What do you want me to say that? Just call you King Prodigy. I'll just call you King. We'll do that. We'll keep it easy. We'll call you King. Yeah, so yeah, you got Komet and Coleman. I do like that a lot, actually. Coleman, I was the guy that I eyeballed, but I was hoping that I could be quiet about him and he might make it back to me, so I could really continue pulling that stack of Bills players like I've been wanting to. But you took that one away from me. So okay, David, I'll stick with David then. But yeah, man. So that's you good pick in my opinion because you took the guy I was targeting. So way to go there. I like Cole Kmet this year too. Same thing we just talked about. Like so, think about Sam Laporta in his rookie season with Ben Johnson as the OC, right? Like he did amazing, right? It wasn't until they started looking more at their running backs and like turning their offense a little bit away from him that he kind of fell off this season. But that wasn't because of anything other than just not needing to focus on him anymore as much as they did. So I definitely think that in this offense, he doesn't have as good of receivers. DJ Moore's great. Rome's coming up. He's good. Keenan Allen's, if he's even there, is kind of on his downhill slope at this point. So I think Komet will be at least like the third option in that offense. So I definitely like that pick at this point. I think that run of tight ends right there, the only one I didn't like as much is the Kelsey pick because I think he's going to retire and go marry and turn his name into Travis Swift and just be an actor or whatever from this point forward. So I just don't anticipate him playing football any longer. But other than that, if he does play though, hey, you just got yourself a nice steal there. So that's pretty awesome for you. Yeah, but definitely moving forward on these picks, Tajay Spears going right after him, right between Aaron and Keon. So I do like that pick. Also, Peg Dell, Jacoby Myers were the following picks from there. Kirk Cousins went after Rogers, which I honestly probably take Cousins over Rogers because I do think Cousins will be in a better position wherever he turns up. Like, what are they talking about? Raiders maybe or something like that. So Rogers, I just don't know unless Rogers ends up with the Steelers, like doesn't sound like that's going to be a situation that's going to happen. But if Rogers and Adams end up the Steelers together, then okay, yeah, maybe he'll be a better player this year than Cousins. Otherwise, I think Cousins is going to be the better starter to have just for the season because I don't think either of them are really going to be much worth their salt beyond that. So, oh man, I just auto picked because I was talking my way through it. It's all right though because I'll take Rasheed White. I'm okay with that. He was basically a guy that I was thinking about. If he's still there, I'll have a hard time passing him up. So, if that happens the way it did, then I'll be okay with it. And look, that's exactly what happened. So I'll be okay with that now. Let me look and see, make sure I keep track of what's going on here on the next pick. But I am definitely looking at more of a specific position than I was prior to this, and thinking, ooh, that's a good pick. I like the Mario Douglas right there. I definitely think picking him right there was a solid pick for you. Isaiah Likely too, Dallas Goddard. Both those picks are good. If Goddard stays in Philly, if he leaves Philly, that one's a little scary for me with him leaving Philly. But otherwise, I think depending on where he goes, if he goes like Chargers, and that's awesome. But I think they're going to draft a kid this year more so than anything. So let's see here. Where are you? Dun, dun, dun. Bear with me, ladies and gentlemen, while I look for the guy that I want to take. And I'm just going to go ahead. I'll just go ahead and take Javonte Williams. Because I do think that Javonte Williams is going to have a better season this year. It's hard to say that, after everything he's done lately to hurt my opinion of him. But I definitely wanted to get somebody with Shaheed. See, I was almost went with Shaheed. He was like between the two of those guys, to be honest with you. So I'm glad at least I knew I was like in a closer track in that right direction. Somebody else, right? No. So who was it that took way to go, Graham? There you go. See that we're on the same page, man. I like that. So yeah, I'm definitely that pick was a little bit more of a rush pick for me too. If I had more time to really analyze it, I probably would have went a different route. But I don't hate it either though, because I do feel like Javante is going to have a good chunk of that offense. Anyways, so it's not gonna be the end of the world. There's definitely there was one guy specifically that I was trying to find, and I'm afraid that he might have gone off the board already. But let's see. We'll see if he comes back around. Oh, Mooney, that's a good pick right there too. I like that pick for you. Who was that did that? Don't tell me it was Alex. I don't want to have to give him any props. Okay, no, it wasn't Alex. He took Trey Benson, which could turn out to be a great pick if Connor gets hurt. But yeah, Darnell Mooney. And then, see, he's got some solid picks over here. I do like Eagles Hesh. Like you guys are getting to a point now with this draft where we're in round 13. This is a good time at the end of this round for me to kind of give you guys another update on my team of the draft so far. And at this point, I can't really give it to you, Eagle Hesh, because your quarterbacks. I feel like you just barely missed the boat a little bit on those quarterbacks. I think you probably should have snagged one of the five guys or six guys that went after your George Pickens and before your Cortland Sutton and before your Shador Sanders pick. So unless Shador Sanders turns on his rookie season like we already had this year from Daniels, I don't know if you're going to have the support for your QB2 to be a consistent, your super flex be a consistent QB2 for you, which to me is important in best ball. I really want to make sure that I have at least a solid QB2 a lot of times, or like have such good depth that my super flex is a guy who outscores half of quarterbacks. So it's definitely one of those situations that you really want to make sure you either or. For me, I don't really like to be stuck in that no man's land, which kind of is a little bit where you're at right now. But everything else looks really solid on your team, so I definitely don't have a lot of hatred towards the squad. That's the one spot that if I had to nitpick, I would. So I'll give you guys a quick run through on some of these other teams. I'll just basically go team by team for you guys, so you guys can kind of see what we're looking at. GLC 76, I think you did a great job so far. You got a couple of solid backs on your team. I like your receiving depth. When you picked up Pittman and Demario, I thought those were two solid picks right there. So Halton Kincaid, I love him as a player. He went to my high school. Everything I like about him, that part of it, except for when he's on the field, he's been underwhelming, which frustrates me. So that one would be more of just me being more of a bit of a bitter person about the whole situation. Maybe go for a guy like a Johnu Smith or something that is going to be a bigger part of that offense. But I don't hate it either because he could turn it on at any moment, and the talent that he has is undeniable. So definitely could turn out to be a good pick for you. You're in the same boat a little bit with your QBs only because Daniels we know who's a solid player, but you've got Drake May who we need him to come up like this year. Dynasty wise, Drake May's great, but for best ball, I'm a little more hesitant on Drake May. Especially, I'm not going to take him over a guy like a Jordan Love, for example, who was on the board for you. I probably would have went with Jordan Love before I would have went with Drake May at that point. But that's again, that's the preference almost at that point. So I like your receivers. I think you did a good job snagging those guys. So I think you did pretty well too. I'd give your team like a solid B plus. Free weight. Let's see where you're at, my friend. You're the one who took Hertz, so that was obviously your Q pick that you did there. So I can't say I hate it, like we talked about earlier. If that's the guy you wanted, then go get him, man. You got Drake London Worthy, Ayuk, Pearsall, and Downs. I don't hate that receiving core. There's some potential there. I like your Purdy and Ayuk stack a lot, and I think your depth at receiver is nice, but your running backs are slim pickings. So you need to build that spot a little more and hope that there's enough depth left on the board for you to be able to do so. Other than that, though, I think you got a pretty solid start to your squad for sure. So yeah, I'm definitely there's one guy specifically that I like a lot right here, which I'm going to go ahead and take is Marvin Mims. So I'm going to grab him right now because I really like the idea of having a receiver in that offense right now on my team, especially one that is from my hometown. So I always want to draft those guys when I can. But let's go back to free weights breakdown. I definitely like it. Just the running backs, like we talked about. So other than that, though, I put you at a nice solid B. Also, I'm not going to do my team because it's my team, and that would just sound pretentious. So, Stiley, I'll talk about you right now. We got Lamar Jackson and Dak Prescott, and that's it. So I think your quarterbacks need to be like on point, man. Like that, you got to get some going on your quarterback glove because I don't. If you lose Dak again like he did, that with this year or whatever, or Lamar has a problem think you're struggling because you don't have anybody left on the board that you can take without snagging their backups really. So that's the only part of your team though that I consider to be kind of a spot of weakness. Other than that, I think you've got a pretty solid team with the rest of your positions. It's just that one spot is the only spot that I see that's kind of a potential downfall. So you're doing solid though, man. I'm gonna go ahead. There's a guy I really like right here, and I think I'm just gonna go ahead and take him because I just anticipate like a good season from this guy, and I know it's gonna be early, and a lot of you guys are gonna laugh at me for this, but I'm gonna do it anyways because it's a $4 league, and I want to get him while I can. I want to get Senate. I really think that he's gonna have a good year this year and come on from last year. So I know that's not the guy that I sniped you with. I'm sure you're talking about Marvin Mims, right, Sam? Because that would make more sense than me sniping you with Senate right there. It sucks being on the 12. I know what you mean, dude. It does. When you get down there, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, like there's 7 players I like, and I have like 15 picks in between me and the next one. It sucks. I'm in the same boat as you, man. Yeah, I figured it was Mims, brother. I know I like Mims too, man. No, but yeah, Sinnott, I definitely get the McBride vibes from Sinnott too. And I think that with that offense coming on like it is, like if you looked at the way that Ertz played in that offense at his age and knowing just because he knew that offense so well, I think Sinnott just needed the time to get up to speed with that. And I think once he does, he's going to take that role. He will be like McBride, and he's going to be a type of player that, if it's not next season, the following season, he's going to be drafted as tight end 2 or 3, unless these rookies come out and just are on fire like Bowers was. But maybe we're in a boat now, guys. I mean, maybe we're getting to that point where we've got players that are, 3 or 4 deep in the tight end position where we finally can do that. I know we thought about that was coming already and it, let us down. But, we've still got some really solid young tight ends out in the league right now and a couple of solid players that we know are good that are just, a little bit long in the tooth. But as a tight end, you can play for a while as a tight end. It seems like tight ends are playing into their mid 30s and, right up until the point that they, start dating artists and stuff like that, do they start falling off? Up until that point, though, they can dominate all the way up into their mid 30s. We've seen it happen multiple times. You got Tony Gonzalez, Gronk. We have Kelsey right now doing it. It's just consistent that these guys can play well into their mid 30s in that position. It's really funny considering that it's like literally they're blocking and they're getting smacked in these routes. Like you'd think that would be a position that would be harder to last long, but nope. Seems like it's the easiest one. I mean, God, what's his name? The guy from UCLA who got drafted the same year as Maurice Jones-Drew, who has now had a longer career in media than he had in football, and the other guy's still playing. Marcel, I can't remember his name right now, guys. Somebody give me a clue in the comments if you can remember. But he's been playing tight end for years. He's been on multiple teams. Started with the Jags, played for years with the Jags, and into Green Bay. I think last year, if I want to say correctly, is where he was. And the guy just doesn't go away. He's still there, man. He's still playing, and he's still competing too. He does well. It's not like he's just scrub. He actually plays well. So it's pretty funny. I'm gonna go ahead and take this head case and see in case he does come on strong in that offense. You never know if he stays there. I'm gonna give it a shot at this point in the draft. Why not? Mhm. See, this is the part where, like, since I know nothing about rookies, like, I feel like I want to take a rookie year just to take a shot on one, but I have no idea which one I should go with. So give me a name, guys. You tell me which one I should take. I don't even care if you're in the league with me and you tell me to take somebody that I shouldn't. I'll take whoever you guys tell me. I don't get a suggestion, then I'm gonna snipe you again, Sam. You better give me somebody other than the guy you want. Oh, actually, I think I already figured out who I'm gonna take. So sorry, dude. Too late. You didn't give me a guy, so now I'm gonna pick my own. I'm gonna snipe you too, bro. I'm telling you right now. I already know it. I already know it. Here it comes. Bam. On Tavion Wicks. I'll be surprised if that one gets you too, though, dude. I know a lot of people aren't as high on him as I am. So let's get back to the teams here. So Stiley, I thought you did pretty well with the exception of, like I said, the quarterback depth. I do like that you took Jackson Dart. There's a lot of chatter that he's going to come up into the bottom of the first round. If that happens, I'd be surprised if he doesn't start at some point in the season. So I do think that's a solid pick at this point with the way the situation was playing out for you. Taking Joe Flacco right there isn't a bad play either with the situation in India being what it is. So I definitely don't hate that move either. I like that you attacked that position there at this point. That's a good move. So another good solid B, I'd say with that one there. Maybe give you just a B minus, only like I said because of the depth and having Dak being injury prone-ish scenarios. So we'll go on to Graham. We'll go on to your team since I keep sniping you. We'll see how good you were able to cover yourself, huh? So yeah, there you go. You taking a head case. Since I took one head case off your hands, you had to go for a second one. I feel you there. So let's see where you're at, my friend. You got Jamar Chase, Baker, Bucky, Caleb Williams, Ken Walker. I don't know why I can't talk right now. Sam Laporta, Diggs, Luque, Fields. You're kind of in the same boat with the quarterback depth, but again, it's not like it's easy to get good quarterback depth right now with Superflex and the 12-team league. So I definitely don't hate your team. I think your receiver depth scares me slightly. Mainly because you have a lot of players that like you're gonna need at least one or two of them to have one of those flash weeks like each week because you're not gonna have one of those guys with the exception of maybe the Rook towards later in the season that could step up to really be a consistent every week guy. So you're kind of like hoping that at least one of these dart throws hits every single week as opposed to having at least a solid enough second receiver so that you know that you don't have to worry about it that way. So that's only the concern I have, though. The rest of your team is solid. A little bit of depth at running back could help, and a little bit of depth at quarterback. I think you got a solid couple of tight ends. You really don't need to worry too much about that position. There's going to be plenty of value there in the next few rounds, so you don't have to worry too much there. I'd probably give your team. I'm gonna give it like a solid like C plus, dude. And the only reason I say that is because exactly what I talked about is your receivers are so scary that if you don't get one or two of them to hit every single week, you're not gonna be competitive. So that's the only thing that scares me. Otherwise, I don't think your team's horrible at all. But that's what these $4 leagues are for, so we can fine tune our skills, right? Let's go over Alex's team. This is always fun for me when I get to do stuff like this. All right, Alex, let's see what you got, brother. So you started out with Bijan, then he went with Nix, Smith and Jigba more, so two receivers. And then he followed it up with two solid quarterbacks. So this is exactly what I was just trying to talk about earlier. It's always nice to make sure you have at least that three solid quarterbacks that are going to be starters all year, if they're barring injury, and are going to be able to score you at least a decent amount of points. So they're more valuable than an RB3 or wide receiver 3 would be. And that's pretty much where I sit with quarterbacks when I do super flex leagues. And so, Alex, I think you attacked the position exactly the way you should have. I do like that you started with the running back, but followed it up with the two receivers right off the gate. What I didn't like too much was that you passed up on some really solid quarterback depth to grab Jalen, or I'm sorry, running back depth to grab Jalen Waddle, and then also come back around to grab Jerry Judy. As much as I like those players, one of them I think should have been a running back at that point in the draft. Because even when you pick Scatterboo, I think you're still leaving yourself thin at that position, and to the point where you made sure to attack the crap out of it later in the rounds, which doesn't allow you to do much for your rest of your positions. So you kind of pigeonholed yourself into needing to go after that one role too much, in my opinion. So other than that, though, I like the rest of your moves. I like your three quarterbacks a lot. I'd say so far out of the three, with the exception of maybe my three quarterbacks, are I think so far the top three quarterbacks as far as the teams are concerned that we've talked about, like as a group. So I definitely don't hate where you're at with this. I think I'd probably put you right at about the same grade though, probably right at about that C. So like nice solid C. I wouldn't say a C plus or a C minus, but a nice solid C right there in the middle. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. It's not horrible, like I said, it's not great. I'm in the process of trying to pick a guy right now. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go with this guy and go with Jalen Polk, who I think could have a good season if Drake May is able to turn things around there and they build a little bit around those two players on offense. So I definitely like that pickup at that point. I also like that I got to stop GLC from taking Polk to get that stack. And my payment for doing all of that is free weight. Go ahead and snipe the guy that I was going to target with my next pick right after that and take McLaughlin, which makes me feel like I should have went that route instead of trying to block another player and just take the guy I wanted. Like we talked about earlier, just take the guy you want. Don't dick around, and look what happens when you dick around. You end up losing out on the guy you wanted. So should have learned my lesson. All those other times I didn't. I still did the same damn thing once again. And it is what it is. Not the end of the world, right? We'll figure out who we can replace them with. So now we need to get ourselves. Looks like another back would be a great addition to this team. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a shot in the dark on a rookie. I have no idea which one of these guys to take, so I'm just gonna let the board tell me, and I'm gonna take ETN's little brother. Why not? And he's sitting there at the top. I don't know. I don't know how their rankings are set up. I don't know where he lies in the running back rankings this season because I'm not even close to looking into that stuff yet. But like I said, it's a $4 draft, and we're looking at the 19th round. Why not? Right? Take a stab in the dark. We're moving right along here, guys. So moving on to the next team, we got Brady over here, who I think Brady started out great with those first two picks, like we talked about. I like the pick of Achane, especially in a best ball. I think he's so much more valuable in a best ball league. Trey McBride, I think, is a solid pickup there. I'm not the type that likes to attack tight ends this early in these drafts. So, for me, it's always a little bit of a stinger to see an early tight end. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's my own personal preference. And, I'm not going to use that as a dock on your grade because it is a preferential thing and not so much like a proven, strategy or anything to not take a tight end early. So, especially when you're talking about one of the top two guys. So I don't hate it at all. I don't like it personally, but I know as a whole, overall, I'm not going to knock your team for it. Trevor Lawrence was the part that I will knock your team for. Not because you took Trevor Lawrence, but because you passed up on a couple of guys that I think I would have definitely taken over Trevor Lawrence. And I wouldn't be surprised had you not taken Trevor Lawrence and waited. You probably could have taken one of Penix to McCarthy, and then Lawrence probably would have been there for you to come back around and snag him again in the sixth. So that's the only thing I feel like about that point. Is I just don't think T Law has the draw that I think you could have waited on him to come back around and been able to get him again in the sixth and still have him and team him up with one of the other two. So the reason that I would say I would rather have done that is because now you were stuck with Richardson and Cousins as your only depth at quarterback. So like not only do you not have like a top tier guy to start your team, but you don't really have solid depth behind him that you can count on if he doesn't come through for you. So it's just a really scary, scary setup. And the rest of your team is so solid that that you really don't want to have them try to have to carry both your potential quarterback roles. I mean, if you have at least the one guy you can say, okay, yeah, I'm going to have this one guy who's going to get me my points in my quarterback one. As long as my super flex is decent, I'll be okay. You don't really have that option right now. You kind of hoping more than like preparing. So that's the only thing, though, man. The rest of the team, I think you drafted players the right spot. I think you got a lot of good value with the guys you took when you took them. So I don't hate it at all, other than like I said with the quarterback thing. And since to me quarterback is such an important position, I would knock that down to like a C minus solely for that reason. So that was the only problem, though, man. Gosh, if you'd have just done a little differently with that quarterback role, you'd have been in an A or an A plus even maybe, because the rest of your picks were pretty solid, man. So we'll go on to the Eagle Hesh over here is sitting here with a decent four back starting spot here with the like we talked about earlier. You got four backs in the first six picks. Henry, Barkley, Brown, Hubbard, and then his top receiver is T. Higgins, who I think is a solid number one receiver this year. And Jared Goff is his quarterback, sandwiched in between those running backs. So that's a solid start right there. I think when you come around, when you get to Cortland Sutton, he's a guy that I probably would have taken there. I would have probably gone after like a DK or a Pickens. Were the next two receivers that were taken off the board. Just because I think Sutton, he's an older player, and he's not a drafted by Sean Payton type of receiver. And yes, they utilized him a lot this year, but Marvin was learning the offense, and I think now Marvin becomes the guy in that offense. And so Sutton's going to take a back seat. And if he's not getting all the targets, he's not the same valuable player that he was. So that's the only reason I have it that way, in my opinion. So I think right there, I would have probably taken Pickens right there and then came back around and gone for a different position on the next go around for you. Maybe even went after one of those other quarterbacks that was still on the board at that point. And so I would have had Pickens and then my second quarterback. I think that would have been for me something I would have preferred over what ended up happening. So I do like that you got Pickens still coming back around like you did. Shador Sanders, I think, can be a solid pick for you. It's just such a up in the air scenario. And I like that you snagged Russell as like a backup option for you to cover in case Sanders doesn't really come on strong. I don't know how well Russell is going to play this year if he's not in an offense that can cater to his strengths. So we'll see where he ends up. That's going to make or break a lot of things for your team. Calvin Ridley, Jacoby Myers, Darnell Mooney, John Jennings, and Romeo Dobbs is rounding out your receiving core, which is pretty solid receiving core for you overall. I would say you've only got the one, potential stud with T. Higgins, and the rest of them are going to be good, solid role players for you. But I wouldn't call them, anybody who has a ceiling of a stud. So your depth at receiver, I think, is slightly suspect. And then your running backs, you got the top four, so you don't even really have to worry too much about them. I like that you picked up a couple guys late that helped back up some of your players that you had earlier. And then Dalton Schultz, Zach Ertz, and Jake Ferguson, I think, are a solid duo or trio of tight ends for you. So I'd probably put your team at about like a B minus. And the only reason I say is I bring you down to the minus is the depth, the receiver depth not being quite as top end as I'd like, and your quarterback scenario being a little bit question mark like we talked about. You'll see that quarterbacks are pretty much the main thing that I'll use to knock a team a little bit, is more so than anything else, because I value that position that much. When you're talking the next team, you got Goku or Sixoku, whichever you want to say or however you want to say it. They started out with Jameer Gibbs, who, in my opinion, is probably going to be RB1 this year coming up. I just, sneak peek for you guys there. I just autoed Deshaun Watson, so that's totally fine with me because I hopefully will never need that guy on my team, and I don't want anybody else to have to worry about him. So I'll go ahead and take that bullet for you guys. um, the Jameer Gibbs, Kyron Williams, Charbonnet, Brian Robinson, and Rico Dowdle. Zamir White, Jonathan Brooks. So you got a solid team. I don't like the Jonathan Brooks pick because he's not going to play this season at all after re-tearing his ACL. So, I know that's an auto pick for you, though. So you got the same thing I did. I think Sean Watson's not going to play either. So we're both in the same boat on that one. I can't hate you for it if I did the same dang thing. So the rest of your team isn't terrible. I like that you got two quarterbacks that are going to be starting quarterbacks. I just wish you would have jumped on it one round earlier. Just one round earlier. Maybe take Tua from Alex and have him be your starting quarterback in that situation. And then you can come back and not take Darnold or Stafford and come, maybe get Pickens or something right there. So I don't hate it. That's the one thing that I probably would have done differently. Yeah, because I'm not a fan of your depth at quarterback too much. If one of them is hurting, then you're in bad shape. I like your running backs. I think you've got a good, decent stable of running backs. If we talked about what I think of Sharps, I like your stable receivers, your top end on your receivers, your depth on receivers a bit suspect. I'd try to tackle that as best I can moving forward. I'd probably put that team at about probably put that team at like a solid C plus. Just because I think that they did a good job solidifying some stuff early on. Birdie 87. Let's see where you're at here. Before I go too crazy, I want to make sure that I don't get auto picked again. No, I still got a couple of picks left before. Oh nope, never mind. It's nope. Oh, okay, I still got some time. Never mind. My phone was a little late. I'm trying to draft on my phone so you guys don't get to see all the players I'm looking at. That's funny, right? Birdie did a good job with those first two picks, like we talked about. I thought that was a solid move for you. Brees Hall was the one that concerned me. I just think I would have taken like Kyron or Cook, Walker, any of those guys. I think I would probably go with them in the best ball over Brees right now, just because I'm not confident with that team in general. And then to double down on the Jets and take Wilson on the way back, I know the value was great, but it's just so hard to have two Jets on your team when they're so bad. I do like your quarterbacks, Michael Penix, JJ McCarthy. I think those were solid pickups. And even when you snag Aaron Rodgers late, back up those two types of players, it's not a bad move there either, especially if he lands somewhere good. You've got two rooks at back. I like taking a rookie back here and there. I don't like to take two early rookie backs because the chances of potentially missing on one of them, is pretty big when you're talking about taking two of them like that. So I just would have wanted some more solidified depth that I knew I could count on more than just like the crapshoot of a rookie. But it's not horrible because they could both turn out to be super studs, and I'm going to look like an idiot. So it's definitely not a bad move. He went and took another rookie quarterback, though, so that's a rookie receiver. I'm sorry, so that's another one of those things that I would have taken somebody I think maybe a little more solid, but he's supposedly like a superstar guy. So if he comes out and he plays like Malik Neighbors did, then that's a steal of a pick, right? So you can't hate on that at all. I think I'm going to go ahead and take a guy here. That I like. Yeah. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take my boy Dortch. And I've been taking Dortch a lot. I think he's been falling into a lot of these drafts. In my opinion, he's one of those guys that he's got a role in that offense. I don't understand why people aren't willing to take him. He's definitely kind of that. He's taken on that role that they really wanted somebody to have forever in that offense. They keep drafting for that slot, gadget guy, and they keep missing, and they finally, got a hit with a guy that they probably didn't even anticipate to be the one. So the fact that they're there, I think Dortch is a guy that at this point in the draft, when you're talking after the 20th round, I mean, you can't ask for a better option than a guy like a Greg Dortch, who is going to at least get some touches in a game. So it'll make up a little bit for that ridiculous pick of Deshaun Watson, which we all know was not on purpose. So let's go back up. What's we were at? We were on Birdie's team, correct? So based on everything we talked about with Birdie's team, I didn't say anything about your tight ends yet, but you got decent enough depth there at tight end. I think it'll be fine. I would probably say with this team, you've got so much, rookie love going on, man. I can't say I hate it. I just personally not knowing anything about these rookies, I just have no idea, and I just don't like to have that many because it's so rare for you to have that many rookies that all hit. Maybe one or two or three, but to have that many all hit, you could end up where a lot of these guys aren't even playing, and then your depth is so bad that you can't really put together enough solid weeks to be competitive. So it's going to be a hit or miss either way. So with everything being said, I'm going to put you at like a C minus because I just the situation with the quarterbacks is really what it is that scares me the most. So yeah, definitely. Like in the next team though, Uncle Chris, I thought did pretty well as I was watching through it. I mean, I haven't really fully scouted the rest of it yet, but I'm going to go through now and double check. I do remember liking what I was seeing as I was looking through it, though. I like that you took quarterbacks early, like we talked about with Burrow falling all the way to you, and the fact that Murray was there for you where he was. I like that. Olave, I was a little concerned about at the time just because of the injury situation, but if he hits, he's a solid wide receiver 3 for your team, and you've got depth with Reed, Tillman, Cooper are guys that I think are going to have the solid portions in their offense. Michael Wilson, Lasavius, Bailey, those are all guys that have roles. So I definitely like your depth on that team a lot. Your running backs could use a little bit of help. I think Pacheco is really scary. We don't know for sure what's going to happen with him. I really could see them drafting somebody this year and basically having Pacheco be that like third down bruiser kind of guy and having somebody else who's their main man because he just doesn't look fully recovered from that injury, and I don't know if he's really going to be able to come back from that to regain the type of role he had. I do like James Conner. I think that's a solid pickup there. I like Tajay Spears. I like Ray Davis. I think those are all solid moves for you. Just the fact that you don't really have much more depth than that scares me a little bit. That is the only position that I would really say that I'm worried about with you. I think you've got solid players. Even Derek Carr, knowing that he's just going to be there to start, the worst case scenario for you is nice. I probably would have attacked at least one more quarterback at some point if I could have, but other than that, I don't hate it at all. So I'd probably put you at like a solid, like and we'll say an A minus. I'll give you the first A. So you're going to get an A minus on that one. And the only reason I gave you the minus is that running back issues. Other than that, I think your team is on point. So let's go over to your team, David. This is the last and final team, but it's definitely not the worst team. It's going to be in the running, potentially the best team as I go through this year, looking at it because I do like the way that you drafted. You got CD, Patrick, and Herbert as your first three, and then you followed up with McLaurin right after that. I think I might have gone another direction than McLaurin. I think there's a couple of receivers that I like that were still on the board more than Terry at that point. I do like Terry. I just think he's getting slightly overdrafted because he's on the heels of like it's kind of like that "what have you done for me lately" scenario, and I think he's done the most lately. So people are more excited about him at this point than I think maybe we should be. Not to say that it's a bad thing, but I just don't know 100%. I'm going to go ahead and take Damian Pierce here, only because if something happens to Mixon, I think Damian Pierce becomes an instant stud. So let's get back to David's team, though, the last and final team to evaluate. And we've got Ty Warren, I think, is a solid pickup for your tight end. Cole Kmet, so you followed it up with a guy that we know is going to have a role in the offense. I like the Mike Mayer pick. I'm sorry. Yeah, I like your team. It's pretty solid, man. Your running backs are good. Kamara, Mixon, Jones, Eckler, Ketone. I love Ketone. I think people are passing up on him too much right now. I really like him. DK, Cup, I think are solid picks there. Coleman, Allen, Hopkins, more. Yeah, everybody has an offensive role. So, yeah, I'm gonna give you a solid A, man. I'm gonna go. Not gonna give you an A plus. I'm not gonna give out no dang A pluses in this draft, but that's probably because everybody was too good at draft and nobody was able to earn an A plus. But an A is a solid A in this fucking draft right here, everybody. That's a solid score because it's not an easy draft to get an A in. The way people are drafting, super savvy draft boys. You guys have all done a great job with that. It looks like I am on the clock once again, so I'm going to go ahead and just snag another tight end to get a little bit more depth on that position and go ahead and let you guys move forward on the next few picks. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, guys. We got 3 more rounds left. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of work towards the sign off for you guys. If you guys have a favorite team while we're getting ready to finish this up here, feel free to throw it out and just let me know what you think and where you're at. And don't pick your team. If you're on here and you're drafting, then don't pick your team. Just tell me what team other than your team you like. Because that's going to be more fun. We don't want to sit here and listen to people brag about their team. That's why we don't have Connor on the pod right now. Because we all know how much he loves talking about his teams. Look at Alex taking CEH. Look at that. Clyde Edwards-Helaire in New Orleans. He's he's gonna go ahead and just stay there in the Big Easy and hang out and for his old college stomping grounds. Hopefully he'll play better there and be able to get his mental situation squared away and back to the talented back that he was in college. I like the Kamini Vidal pick. I almost took him over Pierce. I thought about it quite a bit, and then I decided to go with Pierce because, like we talked about, I just think that Vidal doesn't have the clear path to RB1 type production if somebody goes down ahead of him. I think they're committee more scenario there. So I would just feel like Pierce is going to have more of an opportunity if it happens. So yeah, so look at that, Alex. You're getting a little bit of love from Sam. So Sam's liking Alex's team. We got to say that's a good one too. Oh yeah, see Brady's talking you up too, Alex. So everybody keeps hyping you up. I think it's just because you guys, you don't have to kiss his butt because he's president. All right, he can't just give you guys free entries just because you tell him his team is good or anything. All right, he's not allowed to do that stuff. Me and Scott will outvote him if he tries to pull some cards like that. So you can sit here and hype him up all you want about how great his team is. It's not going to get you anywhere. Oh man, Alex. Look at that. Sniped on the Hawkinson pick. Oh wow, really? You were gonna take Hawk at that point? I'm super glad I did it now. I got to get under Scott skin and snipe you at the same time. Holy snikes. I love it. Oh man, you guys are having a blast here. This is great. Oh, dude, Alex said you're getting 2 votes already out of 12, man. So you got a head start for sure, brother. You're definitely doing a great job. I'm not like I mean I said I didn't rate my team. I would call my team a good team, but I obviously am the only one that feels that way. So it's probably just because everybody's like that about their own team, right? They all think they drafted the best team ever until the season starts, and then you end up in last place in your league, and you're afraid to talk to everybody. It hasn't happened to me though. It's never happened. Never done that. Oh man, when you're in too many leagues, it's impossible not to have done that, right? At least once. We've all done it at least once. Anybody who's drafting right now at this time of the year has done exactly that. It thought they had the greatest fucking team in the world, and after the draft ended, and then ended up shit in the bed all year long. We've all been there. Oh man, yeah. I don't blame you, man. I know that Shakir it seems early at that point, and CJ. I'm not really 100% on the CJ early part of it. I do think Shakir part. I could see why you'd say that. I don't know why people are sleeping on Stroud. He had a little bit of a sophomore slump, but he didn't play horribly, and he's got a solid team around him. I still think they're going to come back strong. So that's definitely a player that I want to make sure that I got a piece of if he's going to follow me in that round. But Shakir, yeah, I am definitely a bit of a homer when it comes to my Bills, obviously. So yeah, I definitely see the bias there, looking a little bit too crazy for me with that pick. But I mean, man, Shakir was such a stud this year, and having the stack, I can't help it. I'm a big stack guy. I try to pursue the stacks where I can. So I definitely got upset when I saw Leggett go off the board ahead of me because I didn't want to get a hold of him, and I should have just taken him when I did. But Marvin was too easy to pass up. So Trey Sermon, look at that. Sermon off the board. What to talk about a rebirth, huh? Guy who was basically like dead in the water there. It felt like all of a sudden he just comes out of nowhere and he's back on a team and he's got some run this year, played well. So yeah, see, Alex says he likes that. I mean, it's definitely it's a people like Stroud at that point, and or people hate him. It's one or the other. It feels like there's really not a lot of people that are lukewarm on him. They're either yeah he's great or no he sucks. I mean, it's just kind of one of those situations. Oh, look at that! It's on me, and I actually remembered this time, so I don't get auto drafted guy. Which I probably would. Am I going to take the guy that I would have auto drafted anyway? I think I might, just for the fun of it. Yeah, why not? We're gonna take a rookie. We're gonna take a stab in the dark on the top ranked rookie, whatever his name is. Aju. Is his name really Aju? According to the phone app, it has his name as Aju. It's the same name. I don't know if that's just sleeper app acting up or if that's actually the man's name. But if that's the case, like that's awesome. I'd be calling him Double A. I've come up with so many fun nicknames for that guy. That's awesome. I'm like when you have a boring name like Sean, you always wanted like have like some cool name that was out there and wasn't like giving you neck cramps when you go somewhere busy because you keep hearing Mom and John and Sean every other 5 seconds. Oh, look at that, Malik Willis going off the board, huh? All right, so I guess I will now go ahead and take this guy who is another guy that I think will potentially have the opportunity to have a good role if there's injury happens ahead of him. So yeah, the Jordan Whittington pick, I like that a lot. I think that's a great solid pick. Good pointing that one out there, Brady. Yeah, that's definitely a solid pick right there. Excuse me. That's a player that I do feel like if Cup gets traded or cut, like I anticipate he will, then that I think Whittington is the guy that maybe steps into most of that role. I know everybody like Marcus Robinson is ahead of him in the pecking order, but I mean Marcus is older. We kind of know what Demarcus brings to the table. They know what Demarcus brings to the table. He can fill in a little bit here and there, but Whittington has that like spark. That like you just see it way when he runs with the ball and how kind of quick and twitchy he is. Like it's one of those situations with him that you definitely you got to be make sure that you keep an eye on him, and if he learns how to run some routes and really get that nuance of the game down, I think he's going to be somebody who could be a sleeper like Puka, kind of coming up in the world out of nowhere type of situation. So if for some reason they have a really good uh, good way of doing that with some receivers and that offense. So I think Sean, McVay, another Sean, goes out there. He does a good job maximizing their potential. So, I like that pick a lot, Brady. You are good there. Actually, I should say GLC since you made the pick, and Brady since you brought it up. I like it for both of your points. Yeah, it seems like he wants it every play. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah, he plays with like his hair's on fire, and I love that, dude. We had a defensive player like that. That if he was on my team, we would have went to the Super Bowl this year. His name's Kyle Williams, and that man was that type of player for the Bills. And for years, man, he was just a beast in the middle of the D line, and he was just one of those people like that. It was infectious, and the rest of the team just like rallies around players like that because you can't not want to play for people like that, man. When you see him out there, like you know, busted ass arm floating, like hanging out of the socket, and he's out there, he's still trying to throw blows and punches with the other arm to get people, out of his way. Like, that's the type of guy that you're going to run through a wall for. So, the players like that, I think Whittington kind of has that type of look to him. Like he's got that type of fire, and I really, really like that in young players, especially when they're young, to have that type of fire and not be afraid to be that way with older players. Sometimes it's hard for these younger guys to get in an older player's face. I mean, you're talking, a guy like Brady. He's like, he's in his late 30s, and these kids are in their early 20s, and they've been watching this kid. They've been watching Brady since they were in high school and grade school. Like a superstar, and then you got to come in there and try to be like a leader for him and on a team. Like that doesn't. It's not easy for a kid to do, especially some of these young hot-headed kids that really didn't really have that leadership in them. Like some people are naturally born leaders, and some people like they have to really like work hard to get to the point where they know what to do to become a good leader and how to get there and all that. And a lot of them can't, do it. So there's some people that definitely are born leaders. And I feel like he could be one of them. So yeah, as Alex points out, this is our last and final round, guys. So we did go through, we did some grades. Everybody did a great job on this draft. Really glad that we did this. This is literally last minute, guys. I was sitting here, working a trade deal with my boy Graham over here and one of our dynasty leagues that's drafting. And he mentioned this draft was coming on. And I said, you know what? I'm sitting here. I could jump on real quick and do a quick run through on this draft for you guys if you're interested. And lo and behold, we had a good double digits viewers from you guys. So I really applaud you guys for coming on here last minute like this and jumping on and just listening to my stupid butt ramble on and on for an hour and a half. I really like that. And you guys are awesome for letting me do that. It makes me feel good inside. So I think you guys all did a great job drafting. Like I said, there's really nobody that did a horrible job. Everybody did a pretty good job, which makes it hard to have a good draft. So, if we're looking at a team, a lot of B's and C's in there and, not a lot of A's or D's, then that means everybody in this league knows what they're doing. So appreciate you guys, man. I hope you guys all have a great night. I'm going to go ahead and sign us off here and let you guys know that we will be back next week on Wednesday for another episode. And on that one, Scott will be doing the draft and I will be commentating my way through it. So very similar to what you heard today with a lot more banter back and forth because we will be there to pick Scott's team apart while he's picking them. So it'll be a lot of fun. So we hope to see you guys. That'll be Wednesday at 5:30 Central, 8:30 Eastern. Hopefully you guys will be there and you can join us. Until then, you guys have a great night and thank you so much. Go Ballsville, and we will see you on Wednesday.